Hello everyone. We are at day 2 of replacing switches, and I've got 3 switches to replace today. 1 and 2 and 3. So for each of these 3 switches I'll need to bring up the control cable, which is this one right here, and get that connected up to where it belongs, and then also bring up the power cable, which is this here, which is the brown ground wire, and the green wire is a hot wire. And that will be a little different on this one. Use different colored wirings on we get down here. On this one we've got the same control cable configuration, but we have a yellow hot wire and a black ground wire here. And as we get down further, we've got the last one, we have the yellow and black hot and ground wires here, and we've got the control cable similar looking here. So my next step will be to, going one at a time, fish up the control cable from the new switch and apply that to the new switch once I fished it through the table, because I can't get this through the table without disconnecting it from the switch. I'll disconnect it. This will be disconnected and removed, and that switch is no longer functional, so that'll be gone. And then the new switches, I'll bring them up and I'll wire them, and then I'll come back and give you an update on my progress. As I get ready to wire this switch up, I just want to point out a couple of things, first of all, that I maybe didn't cover earlier. First of all, this jumper here makes a connection on the switch that's used when the switch is powered by track power, the voltage running through the rails powering the switch. When you're using accessory power, then this jumper has to be removed, and you have a ground and a hot wire coming in to power the switch. And why would you do an accessory circuit as opposed to the tracks? Well, for one thing, you could keep the voltage at the more appropriate level. The voltage for the track power is going to be usually set to what your max voltage is for your transformer, but your switches actually will last longer and work well at about 14 volts as opposed to 18 volts. So using that accessory circuit allows you to get better performance out of your switches. It also means that you're not pulling voltage that might cause your train performance to be slowed down or affected as it's going. Another thing I want to point out to you is that I'm using a set of precision screwdrivers to do this work with. These precision screwdrivers I've had for a long time, and they're just made for finer work, and you can't use a normal screwdriver to get at these little set screws that hold the wires in place, and to disconnect the clip that goes right here that holds the control cable in place once it's been installed. So using precision screwdrivers allows you to actually get the work done. One final thing I want to point out is each of these little set screws holds down a connector, a contact underneath it. Now that contact should just kind of spring back up as the set screw is screwed out, is withdrawn, but it doesn't always do that. So what works well is if you go in underneath there with your screwdriver and you make sure that that connector is opened up, that you can slip your wire into it without getting caught in anything, and then while you're holding the wire in place, you screw the set screws back in to tighten it down. That goes for the power wires on this side as well as for the control wires that are running across here. So a set of precision screwdrivers is pretty much a necessity. Making sure that your contacts are wide open here by just sliding a little screwdriver in there and making sure they're open is a good idea. Remember, this jumper has to be removed so that you can control with the auxiliary power circuit, or power it with the auxiliary power circuit instead of the track power. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this new switch wired in, and then we'll test it and see if we get it working correctly. Another update. here is where I'm at. Day 2 of replacing switches on my Polar Express layout. These were the first 4 switches I replaced on the first day I worked on it. There are 3 more switches on the other side that I replaced the next day when I was working on it, and you can see the switch lights there, and there. Those are all powered. Here are the switch control levers, and this one here, actually on a couple of them, the lights don't always light up consistently when the lever is thrown, which is a defect within the remote control. Not a problem other than that. But here is my problem. After I got this far and all the switches work, they're all in place, they all work the way they're supposed to work, I don't have any power to my tracks. I have gone through and checked multiple times trying to figure out what is going on, looking at every single connection under the table, and I'm not finding anything wrong with any of the connections. However, one of the problems, ways of diagnosing it, is by looking for continuity using my multimeter. And there should be no continuity in this particular place between the center track and the outer track when we test past this break. But look what happens. I've got continuity, which is dead wrong. There should be continuity here, but on the other side of that break in the center track, there should be no continuity to isolate the track number 1, the outer track, from track number 2, the inner track. And if we look here at this point on the layout, we'll check this switch as well, and you see the same thing. I've got continuity on that side. I've got, which is I should have. I've got continuity there, which I should have, but I've also got continuity here, which I should not have. So somewhere along the route, there is electricity from track number 1 bleeding into track number 2, or vice versa, and I cannot find where it's at. I've been over every connection all the way around the layout, and I cannot find it. So I guess I've got to get back laying on my back underneath the train table for a while longer and see what I can come up with, because as of right now, it's just driving me nuts. Anybody have any suggestions, please put them in the comments. And by the way, I did change these 2 pieces here, this one and this one, that provide the break and continuity. I took the old ones out and set them aside and put new pieces, new rail sections in that should have, that there's definitely nothing wrong with those. So that's not the problem. I tested the new ones before I put them on the track, and they worked the way they were supposed to work. But once I put them on the track, I've got the problem. So I'm not sure where I'm getting this circuit bleeding over, but it's affecting track 1 and track 2. As you can see, I just don't have any power for these 2 tracks, and until I can find wherever the short circuit is, I'm stymied. Any ideas? I sure appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe down below. Thanks much. Bye.